Oh, I'm gonna make some of these. Look at that, isn't that delicious looking? Yummy. Well, howdy. Welcome back to the kitchen. This is Texas Cooking Today, and this is my holiday special. This is Holiday with Me. What I'm doing is preparing all of the food that I'm going to be doing for Christmas and Christmas Eve. And right now, I just did another batch of the Hello Dolly cookies. I'm doing some chocolate chip cookies. I wanted you to take a quick look and see what's involved in chocolate chip. They're easy, super easy. There's no reason for you not to do your own chocolate chip cookies. So I've got the butter in here. I'm starting to cream it. Come over and take a look. All right, as you can see, the butter is being creamed. And the whole idea here is just to whip air into it and make it a little lighter and softer. And I'll work in the sugar here in just a moment. I'll cream that in. I wanted you to see the ingredients. This is 2 sticks of butter, a cup of butter. There is a cup of sugar, cup of brown sugar, 12 ounces of chocolate morsels, a pair of eggs, a cup of chopped nuts, 2.5 cups of flour, and to this I added a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of baking soda. All right, I'll be putting in 2 teaspoons of vanilla, or maybe a little extra might spill in there, who knows. And it's an easy do, folks. Cream the butter, gently and slowly work in the sugar. Generally, I will not add ingredients when it is running this fast. However, sometimes with sugar, if I'm just creaming it into butter, I will. Now, anything else, I slow it down, all right? Because we're going to put in some brown sugar, and that's a little more lumpy, and it'll get kicked around and tossed out if I'm not careful with it. There we go. Brown sugar. Now, if y'all would also take a look in the description box underneath the video here, you're going to see the links to my website, which is where I sell my recipes, and also a link to Texas Cooking Today, where there's a whole lot more videos, okay? I've got a lot of tutorials on how to make a lot of dishes, so please try that out. There's great food there. Now, what I do here, occasionally you just got to reach in with a spatula, break things loose from the edge, because as you can see there's some butter that wasn't touched. It's just the way it happens on a mixer. Alright, so I've creamed this for a bit and it's become much smoother. It's doubled in bulk basically. So I'm going to take the eggs one at a time, put them in there. And in just a moment, I'm going to scrape down the sides of that bowl again, and that's because we're going to have this fluffy, buttery sugar mixture in the middle with some sugar and butter around it, and I want to get all of it worked together. So the way I do this, when we get to this point, it's time to put in our last liquid ingredient, which is going to be the vanilla. As I mentioned before, that's about 2 teaspoons. Sometimes a little extra gets in there. It won't hurt a thing. Yeah, if I was to guess, what I just put in is about 2.5, realistically. Sometimes when it comes to certain ingredients like that, you can bump them a little bit. It's not going to hurt a thing. So I give that just a couple of minutes. It does not take long. Okay, look at this. This has only been just a couple of minutes, and look at the difference in volume. It's light and soft and fluffy. Hey, this just makes for good cookies, okay? It makes for good baking. Anytime that you're baking, do stuff like this, all right? Good practices when it comes to baking always pay off, okay? I'm going to gently work the flour down in there. Again, a dry ingredient like this needs to be worked at low speed, and it still will sometimes kick a little out. Don't put it all in at once. That helps to avoid that issue. As you've seen, I work it in about a half a cup at a time until I get to just the last little bit. All right. So here we have, again, the beautiful, beautiful batter that's coming along. Wow. That's looking just the way it should. Yes. That's very nice. Okay, so just run the spatula around this again, get the loose flour off of there, get anything away from the bowl that hasn't processed the right way. Now, I want to give it one more gentle spin. That's really cool, isn't it? The texture's really nice. So at this point, you just take your nuts, go ahead and add them on down in there. Take our chips, put them in there. All right, that gets about 99% of that done. All right, the rest is just by hand, and it's very simple. I'll get this off of here. These are always fun to remove. I've never been able to take it off without getting some on me. It's just a thing. There we are. And I never really kill myself trying to get every bit of it off of there. Now, I will say this, when I was a boy, Mom would hand the beater to me at this point, and she would let me lick that off. And if you want to do that for your kids, that's your business. However, remember one thing, you've got raw egg in this, all right? And if that raw egg has any issues, that issue is going to be passed on to the child that licks that beater, all right? So you want to be careful about anybody doing that. You do it at your own risk, all right? I'm not going to suggest it. And yes, people do get food poisoning from cookie batter. It does happen. Okay. Here's where we get into the arm work. You notice I put that bowl right on its side. Not an issue, is it? All right. The reason I'm doing this, I want to make sure that any batter in the bottom is thoroughly combined with the nuts and the chips and all of that. Well, that's why I do it. There we go. This is ready to go onto pans and be turned into cookies. And so what I'll do is just take out a little spoonful, scrape it off onto the pan, and that melts into the cookie. It's that simple. So now that we have our dough finished, you just want to take an ordinary spoon, all right? Scoop out a little bit on the spoon, just like so, and put a dollop on your sheet, okay? This dollop doesn't have to be perfect, folks. It doesn't have to be shaped like anything specific, but I will say this. These cookies, they spread out. Sometimes they spread out more than other times. It just depends, all right? So do yourself a favor and space them out. Give them plenty of space, just like I've done there. All right? Now, I've got an oven that's got 2 racks in it. My lower rack always cooks a little bit slower than the upper rack does. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put 2 sheet pans in there, and I'm going to have 2 different batches. I'm going to have, off of my top racks, I'm going to have a little darker cookies for those that like a little more crisp, and on the bottom rack a little lighter cookies that aren't quite as firm. Okay, that is my hope, at least. We'll see how well that works out. Now when I'm cooking these, I cook them in an oven 375 degrees. The cookies take about 10 to 12 minutes, and I'm at an altitude around 2,000 feet. So if you're down closer to sea level, you're looking closer to 8 to 10 minutes, okay? There we go. 2 pans ready to hit the oven. And usually I'll go ahead when I'm doing baking like this. I just start lining out as many pans as I can. And that way when those other ones come out of the oven, boom, I'm ready to put these in. because they're already ready. So I like using 4 pans and just rotating them. Now I've got my cooling racks all set up, waiting for the timer to go off. And as soon as it does, those cookies come out of the oven. I'm going to get up on here. Now I've started my first bake at 10 minutes, and we'll see what that gives us, and then I'll adjust any further batches accordingly. All right, let's take a look. All right, that's lower rack, upper rack. Look at the difference. It is substantial, isn't it? So I'm going to get the other ones in the oven and we'll get busy cooking. I like the way those came out. I'll say this, if you're wanting your cookies absolutely even, then what you need to do is go ahead and cook on 1 rack at a time, do 1 pan at a time, and be very consistent in how long they are in the oven. Okay, so like I said, now these are still a little bit soft, but I can barely get them off of that pan now. There we go. Just let them. I generally don't like to wait too long. I don't like the sugars to get too hard. You know, while they're still molten, they're very agreeable, easy to work with. So it's a cross between busting up the cookie and, you know, getting it off of the pan easily and in one piece. You know, that's not that tough, is it? So for goodness sake, enjoy your cookies. This is a fun recipe. It's not hard to do, as you've seen. Let my pans cool a little bit. I'll put new dollops of cookies on there. We'll be baking again. Now sometimes when I'm doing this, I'll just give the pans a good wipe with a paper towel, like now. That's what I'm going to do, and then move right on to the next step. Well, that's all there is to it. Thank you very much for sharing part of your holiday with me. Please enjoy your chocolate chip cookies. I'm sure going to. That's delicious. Nothing better than homemade chocolate chip cookies. Folks, have a good day. A Merry Christmas. Please check out my other Holiday With Me videos. We're just cooking together for the holiday season. And that's good.